Welcome to 90's Gay, where we take a deep dive into queer art and culture from the golden era of the 90s. On part 2 of our chat with the legendary photographer Mike Ruiz, Mike tells us about meeting RuPaul in the 90s. He would go on to direct her feature film Starrbooty and music videos like Looking Good, Feeling Gorgeous. Mike then spills the tea about the countless episodes he spent by RuPaul's side as a recurring judge on RuPaul's Drag Race. Ladies and gentlemen, my incredible friend, Mr. Mike Ruiz. Incredible. One of your major collaborators, along with Vanessa Williams, another one that you've worked with time and time again, is RuPaul. Tell me about when you first met RuPaul. You guys, again, have a lot of history.
Yeah, when the first time I met Ru was I knew Ru's management, the guys from World of Wonder, Randy and Fenton. Okay, I'll go back. I'll go back before that because this is actually a good story. So when I started, I was for someone who had because I struggled with self-confidence and I was really shy and like I honestly I couldn't even be doing this interview right now, like 30 years ago because I was just like I was too intimidated. But then on the flip side, I had like these tremendous balls because I would literally go up to people like at the gym, like celebrities, and be like, "Hey, I'm a photographer. Do you want to do a photo shoot?" I don't know where I got. It's almost like an out of body experience, I guess. I guess I told myself like if I don't do this, no one's going to do it for me, and that's how I that's how I developed that skill. So, but I wanted to. Are you familiar with Christine W? She's a big
Yeah, the
dance
dance
artist.
artist. Yeah.
Yeah, so she came out with an album in 1995, and I was obsessed with this album, and I wanted to photograph her so bad. So I looked on the back of the CD, and I saw who the management company was, and I literally just called them, and I said, "Hey, I work for a magazine. I want to photograph Christine." Um, and back then, there was no there was no vetting, this sort of thing. Like people were like, "Oh, okay, you're interested in my client?" Like, sure. So we set up a photo shoot, and it was amazing. It turned out amazing. And then, of course, there was no magazine. Um, so oh, the magazine folded. So there's, unfortunately, they're not, the images are not going to be published. But they loved them so much that they ended up using them on her CD cover
Oh, wow.
for Christine W. And then I bonded with them. Like I bonded with the guys at World of Wonder, and they were handling Ru, and they said, "Oh, Ru's doing a video. Do you want to come and do some like on-set stills?" And that was, I think, in 1996. And I went to the set of this video, and it was RuPaul, Candace Kane, oh god, and some other very well-known drag queen. It's been on the tip of my tongue. They were doing this like sci-fi thing. They were in a spaceship, and so I did a bunch of on-set stills, and that's when I met Ru, and then I started going to like functions at Randy and Fenton's home, and Ru was there, and we get to chatting, and then we just then I did a couple of shoots with him, and in 2004 I directed. He asked me if I wanted to do the music video for Looking Good, Feeling Gorgeous. So I said, sure. So I did that video, and it went so well that he asked me if I wanted to direct Starrbooty. So we did that, and that was like the most incredible experience of my entire life. Like that whole, we shot it in 2005. We started doing the film festival circuit in 2007 through the end of 2008. And that 3-year period was like the best 3 years of my life. Like everything surrounding that movie was just, it was constant fun. Like we just had so much fun filming it, like laughing, like milk shooting out of our noses. Like it was, it was grueling. Like we shot an entire feature film in 3 weeks. So, and it was like in winter, and it was cold. It was in New York City, and so it was grueling. And Ru was doing his own makeup, so then he would tape, and for 3 weeks he was taping his eyebrows back, and it was so raw at the end of the 3 weeks that it like left like a scab for
Oh,
like
wow.
2 months on the side of his temples.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was hard work, but
Yeah.
it was just
Looks
like
like
the
you
most
guys
fun.
Looks like you caused absolute chaos around New York City in the most awesome
Oh,
guerrilla style. Like that film is so fabulous to watch.
total guerrilla style. We shot that the day that we wrapped is when they broke ground to build the Standard Hotel. We literally shot
Oh
at
wow.
the base Standard Hotel, and it was all like dilapidated and like I mean, you saw. I mean, if you've seen Starrbooty,
Yeah.
it was like very like urban, like derelict urban kind of scenario. But it was again, it was just like so much fun. And then we thought, oh, let's submit it to film festival. Like no one's gonna pick it up. And then of course, like every LGBT film
Everyone.
festival, opened like opened with it, and we were being flown all over the world for like film festivals. Like, like I don't know. Like I've had a lot of stuff like that happen. Like you do something and you're like, oh, okay, you put it to rest and don't think much of it, and then it just turns into this other thing, which is why I have such a fond recollection of that whole experience. It was just so much fun. And then of course
Yeah.
Drag Race came along, and I was the guy at the I was I mean I suspect that they created that opening thing for
Photography
me because
challenge. Yeah.
yeah, the photography challenge. Because Ru asked me before, he goes, "Oh, I'm going to do this show, and we're going to do this photographer thing, and do you want to be the photographer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So that was insane. Like to see like how like that's become like such a pop culture like beast,
Yeah.
Drag Race,
Phenomenon.
like insane. So like to be there at the inception of it, like was it's pretty incredible. Like to be
Totally.
part
Yeah.
of like such a pop cultural like phenomenon.
Did you have any inkling when you got the call that there was any chance that it could blow up to be as big and as mainstream, really, as Drag Race has become?
You don't really think of that stuff, when it's happening. Um, I was just doing it and it was fun. And then the second season came around, and then Rue's like, "Oh my god, we sold to like 9 countries." And I'm like, "Oh, so that's when I thought, oh, this is like a real thing. This isn't some like little cable show that's going to
Yeah.
go unnoticed." Like it became, and then by the fourth or fifth season, they were in like 60 countries, and so I mean that was like that. I mean, pretty early on, we came to realize that it was like going to be like a huge thing.
Yeah.
And now like insane. Like I go to Rue's house and like the wall of Emmys is blinding. I can't even look at
Incredible.
it. I
Um,
mean, like it's the most winning. It's the most winning uh, reality show in history.
yeah.
Drag Race
It's
has won the
insane.
most Emmys of any reality show in history. Like they have like I don't know, like 45 Emmys or some crazy thing.
Yeah. It's insane how
Anyway,
mainstream something that originally was so fringe and so niche, specific for the gay community, has become like it's totally like as mainstream can be. And it makes me think now
right.
Star Booty was so risque. Do you think that there would be the chance of doing a Star Booty 2 now with RuPaul being in the current mainstream mix of things?
Um, I mean, knowing Rue, I mean, I just don't think he has the time to do it. But if if he were to do it, he would be subversive. Like he would. Like I don't. I mean, unless because he has a development deal with Sony and he has like all this big stuff going on. So unless his advisors told him that it would be detrimental to any of that, I think he would do it. But then on the flip side, like he just doesn't have the time to do it. Like he's working on like a million things. I
Totally.
mean, he has a staff of like 5 people in his house at all times, like just working on various projects.
Crazy.
Um,
So
yeah,
crazy.
it's
Talk
pretty
to me
it's
about
pretty cool.
your talk to me about your other experience with TV. You've had a long history with judging on Next Top Model. I think of the A-list New York being a bona fide reality star. You would pop up all the time on Kathy Griffin's reality show. Do you enjoy that side of things with Mike again now back in front of the camera?
I do. I mean, I do. I I it kind of came to a head. When I stopped doing Drag Race. I just because I had a pretty decent photography career prior to any of that reality TV
Of
stuff.
course. Yeah.
But then like people would just, and I had major campaigns, and I mean, if you Google some, I mean, not to braggadocio or anything, but if you Google some stuff that I've done, like people are like, oh my god, you did that, like I've done some pretty high profile pub stuff that
Totally.
people don't associate with me, and I was that, oh, you're the guy from Drag Race, and I don't know, that just kind of, I felt like I needed to just regain my credibility as a photographer because
Mm.
I felt like I was starting to lose it. I felt like I was becoming like this reality TV like joke, like, look at me on TV, and but
Right. Yeah,
people go
it's like
through
it's
these things all the
double
time.
it's a double-edged sword because I guess having that visibility of you as the photographer in front of the camera, people then were able to link your work with you as, because when you're the photographer, quite often, unless you go and research the byline or Google who was behind a campaign, sometimes you might not be aware of this vast experience and vast work that you've got behind you. So
Right.
I can see it's that double-edged sword of having that visibility through TV in front of the camera could bring more eyeballs to, yeah, your work and your history. But
Well, I mean, it brought a lot of eyeballs to other things that were really important to me, but from like I guess everybody goes through a period of like wanting to be taken seriously. Like
mm,
Pamela Anderson
mm,
wanted to be taken seriously as an actress, and and I felt like I honestly was at a point where I felt like I was becoming like a butt of a joke, just from
mm,
because like I was because I mean I got all of this stuff because I was a really solid and accomplished photographer, but
yes,
then but then it all got lost, and I was just that guy. Like some people didn't even know that I was a photographer, and
wow,
and in hindsight, like I'm so grateful for having done all of that reality TV, and and I don't. But at that time, I just felt like I needed to regain some footing
yeah,
as like a as an artist. So that's what I did. But and then again in hindsight, like I was like, wow, that was like all really amazing stuff, and it afforded me a lot of opportunities to do like a lot of philanthropic stuff and a lot of meaning stuff that is very meaningful to me. So
yes,
in that respect, I'm very grateful for having done all of that, and now I'm at a different place where like I don't care. I don't care what people think anymore. I really don't.
the best
So
the best way to be.
if I want to do what I want to do. So
Yeah,
I'm actually I'm only mentioning this because because I want to make it happen. I want to make it manifest. Is I'm working on a show now, and I'm gonna start pitching it really soon. And
wow,
it's a really great like human interest thing, and it kind of combines everything that I'm about, and it's it'll be a really good show if we can get it made.
wow. I'm sure you can't give us details, but my mind starts to wander straight away of like, oh, well, that would be fantastic. What could this show be? Like straight away, I
Yeah,
think like I would love to see you do your own reality competition of discovering the next fashion photographer or something like that. But
yeah. I mean, I thought of doing a competition show, but that's kind of not where it's not
where
where my
your
head
heart
is
is.
at.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to pit people against each other, and like that's not what I want to do something that's uh, see if I say any more you'll be like, oh, I know what it's about.
Yeah. But something that's more
So I'm
meaningful to you. Yeah.
well it's again it combined if we can get it produced, it's going to be a combination of everything that I'm about. Like philanthropy and in giving back and photography and glam and just it's a little bit of all of that. I don't know if I've said too much already,
Amazing. Amazing. Well, we will keep
but
our eyes
it
peeled.
would be so good. Like the few people that I've confided in entertainment are like, oh my god, how has this show not have been made? How has this not been made yet?
Right.
So fingers crossed. I'm gonna. That's my goal for this year is to aggressively push to get this done.
That's exciting. Well, we will have to schedule another chat once that's all
Oh yeah,
up on screens,
100%.
as it 100% will be.
With,
Um,
and that wall will be covered with Emmys back there.
you'll have your own blinding. I'll be the one with the sunglasses on, blinded by the Emmys. Incredible. Yeah. How did you learn the technical side of photography and the business side of the industry? Was it lots of trial and error, or were there some mentors along the way to help guide you?
No, I didn't know what mentors were. I'm sure I could have sought some out. I could have assisted somebody, or I didn't know the protocol. I didn't know that that was a route you could take.
Mm,
So I just figured it all out by myself. Like I would literally go buy a bunch of lighting gear and hole up in my apartment for a week and just blow fuses in the house and just figure out how to use this lighting equipment. Um, and then I would, and then I tried different things and different angles, and I basically like 100% self-taught, technically. And
mm,
then the same with the business aspect. A lot of it is, there's a lot of very specific protocol in entertainment and in photography, and you have to know who the players are, and you have to know how to address certain people versus other people. I mean, it's a lot of mental gymnastics and a lot of like people skills. Like you have to have really diverse people skills, because I mean every single day I'm working with like 10 completely different people, and I have to be super malleable where I can assess like people's personalities, and and how to navigate it all, and how to get people to work together, because I'm at the helm of a photo shoot, so it all falls on me. So if I'm stressed out, or I'm not able to like, you know, make the peace between the two people who are like butting heads, then the whole thing falls apart.
yeah.
So I've developed like really good people skills, and a lot of times like I want to strangle people, but I don't. And I just, I've I'm a good problem solver. That's another. These are all skills that you develop along the way. Like you
Totally.
have to be a problem solver. Especially on a photo shoot. Like if the light's broken, or the camera's broken, or if it's like a stylist didn't show up to a shoot one, so I literally had to go to the fabric store and buy a bolt of fabric, and we were like custom making like gowns on the celebrity, like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So like you got to figure stuff out, because nobody cares. You can't say, oh, like the minute you say I can't, you're done.
Mm,
In this business, like you're only as good as your last can. If you like when people say, oh, I can't do that, they're like they'll probably never hear from me again, just because. I mean, that's another harsh reality of it. Like it's not like an office job, right? Like you have like one 5-second opportunity to make an impression on somebody.
mm,
Um, and you just have to, you have to be the kind of person who's like a team player, and who's just
yeah.
like willing to,
Make
yes,
it
like,
work.
because that's how I am. Like I'm not a ball buster. I'm like really chill, and I don't know why I'm sounding so aggressive in this interview right now, but I'm really not. I mean, you can ask anybody. I'm really chill. I'm really
Yeah.
mild mannered, and I'm good at like kind of getting everyone to work together and stuff. But um, where was I going with this?
Yeah, I'm thinking of the skills that you develop along the way as a photographer. A big thing of that I'm sure you would have to do is to pitch to different people that you want to shoot, or to maybe to a magazine that you would want to shoot for, especially in the early days. How have you perfected the art of the pitch over the years? What's your style when approaching someone that you want to work with?
Um, it's my style. I don't know. I just again you have to assess who it is you're working with, and who it is you want to work with, and try to appeal to things about them that I do a lot of animal rescue. So if I want to shoot like somebody who's into a lot of animal rescue, it's like I lead with that. Like I'm a huge animal advocate, and so that kind of
Common
forges
ground.
like an instant connection with some people, um, and evens the playing field, and and then you get a little dialogue going, and then you know that's again, that's like
Continue.
a skill that you learn over time. It's just kind of learning to identify what you think they'll respond to.
Sure. And then on set, how do you coax a performance out of a subject and make them feel super comfortable to get that magic to happen?
Um, that's another. That's another.
Case
I'm
by
pretty
case,
good
I
at
guess.
directing. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty good at directing, and I think it comes from being in front of the camera. So I've learned that you get more bees with honey. Because I've been barked at and yelled at and demeaned and degraded, and so I know what that feels like. And I always told myself, if the tables were ever turned, I would never treat people like that. So my fundament my ultimate goal with every photo shoot is that everyone leaves feeling good.
Mm.
That's the bottom line. Like, if someone feels like I'll feel like I failed if someone leaves upset or disgruntled, and that's happened maybe 3 times in 30 years with me, just because probably because my desperate need to be liked. I don't, like, it bothers me when people like don't, especially in that context, like especially in that
Mm.
situation. Like,
Yes.
it bothers me that, like, because I feel like I failed, because it's not only, the goal isn't only to take a good picture. The goals are, it's multi-tiered. You have to make people feel good, and I don't know, that's like the paramount thing for me. It's just that people feel good, and then it's compounded when they see the images and they feel like they look amazing in them, and so it becomes like a succession of positive
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. Creating that environment for everything to fall into place.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the next episode of 90's Gay, we conclude our chat with Mr. Mike Ruiz. Mike tells us about being personally selected by Prince to be his photographer. They spent many years side by side, where Prince continued to call on Mike to shoot album covers, tour posters, and an endless string of magazine covers and layouts. Mike tells us about working out of Paisley Park, including the time Prince treated him to a private concert. Make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Subscribe to 90's Gay on Spotify, join our community on Instagram, or head on over to Mr. and Mr.'s YouTube channel to subscribe for future episodes. We'll catch you next time.